All right, you don't have $100,000 yet. Let's get there. People always talk about getting to $100,000 like it's an important milestone, like for some reason, after that, everything becomes easier. You know why? Because it's true. It took me longer to get from zero to $100,000 than from 100,000 to 300,000. And in the end, making money is more psychological than skill-based. You make more money because you change the way you see money than because you actually do something in particular. So this video is not going to be for genius entrepreneurs ready to launch their next best startup and make billions. It's going to be for all the other people that maybe don't like or don't have what it takes to be an entrepreneur, but they still want to become wealthy anyway. Now, I want to take you back to 3-4 years ago. Back then, I had absolutely no money. I've had money before, but I lost it all investing in cryptocurrencies. And here I was, over 30, with no money, an okay job, a wife, and a desire to have enough money that I could drop my regular job and live off my investments forever. So I was in one of those uncomfortable situations that I'm sure you also know when you start comparing yourself to rich people 10 years younger than you and you start believing you can't really amount to anything. And I had a wife, which made it even more uncomfortable because I wanted to do good by her and give her what she deserves. So what do? I started watching video after video, reading basically all books about money in existence, researching the whole internet and trying to learn everything I could about money. Quick money schemes were not an option. Most quick money schemes are just bullshit. Drop shipping, most people lose money. Amazon FBA, most people lose money. Day trading, always knew it's useless even when I was investing in crypto. And I can go on and on with all this stupid advice that you find on the internet. So I was left with basically two ways to make money. One was starting a business, like Alex Hormozi style. And to be honest, this is the best way to make a lot of money in a short period of time. But the probability of success is low and it takes a lot of courage. I had a safe, regular job, I had a wife, and I didn't have a great idea that I wanted to implement. The other option instead was to keep the regular job and invest in a stock market. And this is the way I went. Now the question was, I'm already over 30. How am I going to be able to become a millionaire in a short period of time, like 10 years, by simply investing in the stock market with my savings that come from a regular job? That's sounding impossible. But I can tell you, as of today, I'm confident that I will reach the million and more within just 10 years from when I started. You probably know Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett's right-hand man. There is an iconic quote from him that is so true that you need to know it. He said, "The first $100,000 is a bitch, but you gotta do it. I don't care what you have to do, if it means walking everywhere, not eating anything that wasn't purchased with a coupon. Find a way to get your hands on $100,000. After that, you can ease off the gas a little bit." This is really so true because getting from zero to $100,000 is not about earning the $100,000. It's about completely changing the way you see money, your goals, and above all, building your discipline. Then it'll become easier and quicker, like going to the gym. For the first 6 months, going regularly for 3 times a week is harder than actually going for the following 4 or 5 years. It's the first step that means completely changing your lifestyle, your view of money, and your habits. So here I was, with no money, trying to find a way to become wealthy while keeping my normal job. I knew that I couldn't gamble money anymore with risky stuff because if you want too much too fast, usually you're left with nothing. But there are many people that still do it. Many people I know have like $500 saved and talk about investing in some weird stuff that they heard about on TikTok. And they go on and on how to earn money fast. Most of them, just talk to them after a year or two, they're gonna be broke. Now the interesting thing is that in 99% of the cases, your first $100,000 will come from savings, not from investments. And not because you're not a good investor, it's just a mathematical issue. So what I knew when I started investing in the stock market was that to start and to get to 100,000, you don't need to be good at investing or have particular skills. And that helped me a lot to start because many people think that investing is hard and they're afraid of starting because they believe they're not good enough or they're not skilled enough. So get it out of your head. You can have an extremely good return just investing in common ETFs, like I explained in my channel. And you're gonna have the same portfolio growth as if you were a skilled investor, because at the beginning, it's going to depend much more on how much you save than how good you invest. So I started investing more and more in the stock market. At the beginning, I kept it simple, investing only in the S&P 500 ETF from Vanguard, which in case you don't know, represents the 500 best companies of the American stock market. Month after month, I was doing everything I could to save more and more because I loved seeing that number of my account grow more and more. And this is what I'm talking about. Like for the gym, when you start seeing results and you want to go more and more, the same is for investing. If you manage to start and you see that you can save and invest your first $1,000 by giving up a couple of things every month, and then you get to $5,000 and you're like, wow, I have $5,000 saved. Then there's suddenly 10,000 and soon enough they become 20,000. It gets easier and easier because you're more motivated. And it all depends on how much you save, not how much return you get from the stock market. That's why it's easy. Let's say, for example, that you're saving $15,000 a year and you invest them in the stock market. Let's say you make an average of 7% return per year, which is really conservative. After 6 years, you're going to have reached $114,000. And the interesting thing is that 78% of it will be composed of pure savings and only 22% of investment return. And the percentage of the portfolio, which is your savings, is going to be higher than the returns for almost 20 years. Let's say now that you want to get to $100,000 faster and you earn good money from your job, so you decide to invest like $30,000 per year. You're going to need 3 years to get to $100,000 with a 7% return, and savings this time are going to be 87% of your portfolio, not 78 like before. The point I'm making here is that making your first $100,000, except if you start a business, is not going to be from investment gains. It's all about saving, being smart with your money, and earning more. The next thing is that after you get to your first 100K, it's going to be much easier because the compounding effect is going to start kicking in. This is another thing that really blew my mind because just 2-3 years ago, I was struggling to get to $100,000. And last year, I made almost $80,000 only in returns from my portfolio, plus what I additionally saved in a year and poured into the portfolio. Just to give you an idea, let's say that you save $10,000 per year. To get to your first 100,000, you're going to need 7.8 years. But to get 100,000 more, you're just going to need 5.1 years, then 3.8, 3, and so on. This is, by the way, assuming that you always save the same amount every year. In reality, usually you manage to invest more and more if you can increase your salary over time. So the whole thing actually grows faster. Now, this is another tool of mine that you can download for free from the link in the description below, and I want to use it for a moment to show you how quickly you can actually become a millionaire without having to create a great business or being the next Bill Gates. Let's say that you have $0 now and you invest in the S&P 500 through an ETF like VO. They historically gave an average return of 10% per year. Say that you're able to invest $500 every month, which is really feasible, and every year you manage to invest 5% more because your salary grows due to inflation or to changing jobs. And let's also consider inflation that with an average of 3% per year, unfortunately destroys the buying power of your money. If I write that my goal is $1 million, the tool says that I'm gonna need 26 years to get there. And you can see here from the table how your portfolio is gonna grow year over year. Here you have how much you directly invest, here your real portfolio value, and here the portfolio value inflation adjusted, namely your real buying power in the future. Notice that at the beginning, it grows really slow every year. In fact, in the first 10 years, you only get to $123,000, then in the following 10 years you go from $123,000 to $536,000. So you make over 4 times more than in the first decade. You do it for 10 more years, and this time you get to almost 1.8 million, adding 1.25 million in just 10 years. And if you want to know the current buying power of your future portfolio, you just look at this column here. So for example, if in 30 years you're going to have 1.8 million, they are not going to be worth like 1.8 million today, but like 1 million today. Now, this compounding effect of your portfolio growth, the reason why it's important that you get to your first 100,000 as soon as possible, can be seen in this table here. You see, the red line here is how much you're investing, and the blue line is the portfolio value. The more time passes, the faster your portfolio grows compared to the money that you're actually investing in it. When you have your first $10,000 with 10% growth in 1 year, they're just gonna produce $1,000 for you, less than $100 per month. But if you get to $100,000, in 1 year, the same 10% is going to produce $10,000 in 1 year, which is already a great contribution. Now, in my case, when I think about what really helped me getting started and getting to my first 100,000, probably one of the most important things is that I like tracking things. And I always say everybody should always track and budget their expenses because that's the only way to know where your money goes. And even better, track your net worth because it's the best way to motivate you to do more and more. And that's what I did and keep doing up to this day. I track all my expenses in my Google Budget Planner that I created, and I access it always from my phone in Google Drive so that I can always enter an expense as soon as I have it and not just wait until I forget about it. Before I started investing and tracking my expenses, I had no idea where my money was going exactly. I was never someone that wastes money, except when I was younger, but still I couldn't wrap my head around where my money was exactly going. So I started writing my expenses in a tool, and little by little, after a couple of months, I could already notice some patterns in my habits, like $600 a month for dining out. Oh, I didn't think I spent so much on that. $200 in clothing. Did I really need that stuff? And after you do it for a couple of months, or even better for at least 1 year, you have a perfect picture of how much you spent and on what. This is going to help you a great deal. For me, probably the greatest use of tracking was to know in advance exactly how much I could transfer every month from my checking account to my investing account. So as soon as I got my salary every month, I would move right away everything I could to my investing account and leave in my checking account only what I needed for the expenses that I already budgeted. This, by the way, was a great way to avoid unnecessary expenses because, as they say, out of sight, out of mind. I know that some of you are going to tell me that you can't save any money. Everybody has a different situation, different income, different necessities. I know. But look, I've spoken and audited many people that were in debt, and they all told me that saving money for them was completely impossible and there was nothing I could do. Well, in 99.9% of the cases, I could turn the whole thing around by looking at exactly how they were spending their money, and I managed to show them where they could actually cut expenses and use that money to pay debt and then to invest. And when they were really earning minimum wage, the solution was not in cutting expenses, but in doing something for their job. So whoever you are, you can save more money. And when you do, you did the first great step. Now it's time for the second. When I finally started putting aside a lot of money every month, I was still investing quite randomly. I would move money from my checking account to my investing account every month or every 2 months, and then I would just invest some of it in the S&P 500 basically, depending on my mood. So when the market was growing a lot, I would invest more because I was happy to see it grow. And when the market was slowing down, I would invest less. But actually, I should have done it the other way around. Like Warren Buffett says, you need to be fearful when others are greedy and greedy when others are fearful. So one thing that I've learned is a method called dollar cost averaging. This means investing the same amount of money every month into the stock market, regardless of how the market is going. That's good, right? If I always invest the same every month, I'm going to avoid having my emotions get in the way, and I'm going to get the average growth of the market. Okay, but how do I do that without making mistakes? So what I did was just setting up a savings plan in my brokerage account. So the account automatically invests a sum every month without you needing to do anything. Now, at the beginning of the video, I told you that in a couple of years, I went from nothing to $300,000, and then I'm sure that I reached $1 million within less than 10 years. This, of course, wouldn't be possible just by saving and automating my investments. So the next step that I took was to try and find all the possible ways to increase my income. So first, I focus on my regular job. I work my ass off just to have the biggest salary increases possible every year, and on average, I manage around 10% increase every year. And if you notice that in your job, you don't get decent increases every year, then maybe it's time to think about changing job. I know it can be hard, but you have to do everything you can to always increase your investments and get faster to your goal. Another thing that I did was working incredibly hard on getting better and better in what I do. I read hundreds of books about investing, I spent countless hours learning, and always challenge myself like I do now with the YouTube channel. So you need to find something that you like, that you're passionate about if you can, and you need to invest time in it in order to become better and better at it. Because if you do, you can help people with it and also earn money on the side, which is going to help you achieve your financial goals. In my case, it's YouTube, and I love what I do. One day I want to be able to leave my regular job and just focus on my videos, because only without my regular job I can actually spend more time on YouTube and deliver more content to you. It might not be YouTube for you, but whatever it is, just look for something that you enjoy doing and try to do it as best as you can. Because if you become the best, at some point in your life, it's going to work for you. Well, this is all, guys. If you agree with what I said, drop a like and consider subscribing to the channel. Check out my playlists in my channel page. I have videos for beginners investors, for experienced investors, and also personal finance. Thank you for watching, everyone. I wish you a great day, and as always, I'll see you in the next video. Ciao.